Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Robert Canter. Today's the anniversary of the Battle of Bosworth Field, the final battle of the War of the Roses. Now, I must confess I never even heard of the War of the Roses until I played the PlayStation 2 game, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Roses. Those were better days. To make a long story short, the War of the Roses was a series of conflicts between the House of Lancaster and the House of York for the control of the British crown, the former being represented by the Red Rose and the latter being represented by the White Rose. William Shakespeare wrote 4 plays about these conflicts: Henry VI Part 1, 2, and 3, and Richard III. I've read Henry VI Parts 1 through 3, and I must warn you that they make for pretty dry reading. Whether you've read or seen Richard III or not, I'm sure you've heard the famous line, a horse, my kingdom for a horse! Duelist of the Roses tells a highly fictionalized account of these events. Shakespeare may have turned Richard III into a hunchback, but at least he didn't have Richard and Tudor's men fighting a war with card games. Nevertheless, I spent countless hours playing this game. In the game, the player steps into the shoes of the Rose Duelist, a duelist summoned from the future through magic to fight the war, though who you side with is up to you. In the game, most of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters take the role of a historical figure. For example, Yugi takes the role of Henry Tudor, who will become King Henry VII after the war. Mai takes the role of Margaret Beaufort, and Pegasus claims to answer to the name of Thomas Stanley, Margaret Beaufort's last husband. That's right. In this reality, Mai is Yugi's mother, and Pegasus is his stepfather. Try unseeing that. Now, if I was sent back in time to the War of the Roses, I'd kill Henry Tudor so he'd never sire Henry VIII, and the bloody English Reformation would never happen. The obvious downside is this would alter the entire course of history from the 15th century onward, but I'm getting way off topic. I don't know why, but for some reason, I always imagined the Rose Duelist was Joey's younger sister, Serenity. Maybe it's because I was 11 years old at the time, and roses just seemed really girly to me back then, and Serenity is the only canon girl who doesn't have a doppelganger in the game. This got me thinking, what if they actually did a spin-off miniseries based on the game, where Serenity is summoned back in time to fight the war? Before you dismiss it, remember that Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds takes place in the future. Card games are played on motorcycles, and a whole fourth of the 3rd season takes place in a Western-style town in Japan. Because that's not remotely out of place. And don't even get me started on Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Granted, Serenity isn't the strong warrior maiden you'd expect to see fighting one of the bloodiest conflicts in British history, but it would be an amazing story about growth and character building if you do it right. And I imagine she would mostly be helped out by the spirit of her deckmaster, much the same way Yugi was helped out by Atem and Yuma by Astral. Or she could be mentored by Margaret Beaufort, a woman who struggled to protect her son since she gave birth to him at the tender age of 13, and was instrumental in putting him on the throne. She could even be helped out by an obscure knight that she falls in love with. Then he either dies in the Battle of Bosworth Field, or leaves Serenity conflicted when it's time for her to return to the present, because she knows she can't stay in the past with him. Here they are, Rose Duelist Serenity and her deckmaster Fairy Queen Rosé. I gave Rosé an Old English name, but I have no idea how to pronounce it. I imagine Rosé would grow more powerful with each rose card Serenity acquired. In the game, there are 16 rose cards to collect, 8 red and 8 white, and you automatically start with the 8 cards of whichever side you choose. Her attack points would probably be 250 times the number of rose cards Serenity has. At maximum, that would equal 4,000. Remember that when Duelist of the Roses came out, Synchro, XYZ, Pendulum, and Link monsters didn't exist, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Was more or less about having a bigger stick than the other guy. The only monster at the time that could beat it in terms of attack points would be Blue Eye's Ultimate Dragon, which still retains the record for highest attack non-effect monster. Of course, Rosé could have other effects. It would probably be similar to Armed Dragon Thunder level 10, only gaining more effects based on the number of rose cards Serenity has. She'd probably have at least one shield effect, like once Serenity acquires 12 rose cards, she can't be removed from the field by card effects. Once Serenity acquires all the rose cards, I imagine Rosé might gain a destruction or banishment effect. That's all I've got to say. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe.